I saw this and I did like a double take and said, this is ridiculous. We're sailing. I put it in the sailing distance calculator, 1,935 miles. So 1,935 nautical miles in 6 nights. And to give you a frame of reference, like Alaska, which you traverse a lot, in 7 nights is usually like 1,600 nautical miles.
Welcome back, everybody, to an extra special live episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by We Do Travel Right. Remember, life is short. Take the trip. Let the folks over at We Do Travel Right do the planning so you can focus on the relaxing. And I think tonight, after you listen to this episode, you're definitely going to want to reach out to the good folks.
You're going to help with the planning.
Yes.
And don't forget, we're also sponsored by the DCL magazine.
I got it covered. I got it covered. We also brought to you by the DCL magazine. Good folks over there. If you have not already, head over to dcl-magazine.com. That is dcl-magazine.com today to subscribe. And if you use code DCL Duo, all caps DCL Duo, you can take 10% off everything in their store over there. Be sure to subscribe. They're good folks. Remember, showing our sponsors some love shows us some love. And so we really appreciate you supporting our show sponsors out there. All right. With that, we actually have a guest today from our show sponsor, We Do Travel Right. I want to welcome Jamie to the show. Welcome, Jamie.
Hi, friends. How are ya?
We are great. Happy Itinerary Release Day, everyone.
Release Day.
To those who celebrate.
Yes, so straight to those who celebrate. Happy Itinerary Release Day. I was saying on social media today, because somebody was so impressed with the tool that Brian had built, and we just, posted a screenshot of it. And I said, this is our Super Bowl. This is the day. I mean, it only comes like 2 or 3 times a year. Now it's, I think, pretty clear. It's now coming 2 times a year instead of 3 times a year. We got a huge release of itineraries. There's a lot to cover. It's going to be a deep dive, but we're not going to talk about every single cruise that is on the itinerary, because that would take months. Yep.
And I want to say two quick things at the top, since we got questions about it. We had some people on social media, I'm going to be later, I'm going to miss it. And it's like, okay, this show always goes out on our audio channel too, so you can listen to it after the fact. That said, you are definitely going to want to head to YouTube for this one. We have built a fantastic little tool here to help us walk through all of the itineraries. I'll be bringing it up in a second. Our live shows are always cataloged on YouTube. You just have to hit the little live button at the top to see the live show, and you can watch through it. You can even see the comments that we're running next to it, all that sort of stuff. So if you miss the live show, you can still watch it after the fact. And we really encourage you to head over here to YouTube for this particular episode, because we got a lot of information to cover, and I hope we're doing it in an interesting way. One quick note about
Sleuth and Sam is here. Don't worry, you guys.
She's ready.
One quick note about this tool that we're going to show you. It is just all running locally for us. This is not out on the internet. It is not available to everyone to go look at. We may look at doing that in the future, but being what it is, we just really wanted to use it to bring a little bit of structure to how we talk about the itineraries and rely less on a PDF document that none of you could read at home because it was too small to read on screen. All right.
One might say pizzazz.
Yeah,
It's pretty fancy. I will say, yes, Brian did use AI to create this tool for us, but it, of course, takes a lot of work to do it as well.
I brought the vision. AI brought the coding, and then I worked with it extensively to make sure that the information in here is as accurate as it can be. And so a lot of work went into this. So don't take this as like the shortcut. This is just the thing that wouldn't have existed but for AI. I wouldn't have gone off and paid somebody to build this for us. We'd just be using that, again, PDF that none of you could read at home. So
yeah.
All right, Sam, you're leading here.
Wait, first, I've got to say a shout out to 2 of our youngest fans in the audience, Mia and Paloma. They are Jen's kids, and Jen is actually one of Jamie's clients, and also has been a guest on our show and a big fan of the show. So I had to make sure to say hi to them, because I know the kids are watching live, and we don't always have kids watching live. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the itineraries. We got itinerary release releases from fall 2027 to spring 2028. And what I mean by spring is we got most of April and in some cases, some of even the beginning of May, with one big exception, and that is the Disney Adventure. We only got through, I believe, December of 2027 in terms of itinerary. So that's the only one where we got a lot less information. I don't think that's really a problem in figuring out what the adventure is going to be doing. But before we get to like the specifics of each ship and some new ports, we are going to talk numbers. So Brian, you're going to have to read this because it's too small for my eyes on my laptop.
I made this
here.
So big. I'm sorry.
I know, but no, my screen is you can't. My screen is much smaller. It's not the full screen even of my screen. That's the problem.
If folks could drop in the chat whether you're able to see this or not, I would love to know that information going forward. So for the next time we do this, all right. But by the numbers, 132 total itineraries were released today. Of interest to me was that those double dips are becoming rarer and rarer. So visiting the same private island, there's only 4 sailings in this release of 132 that have a double dip component. Meanwhile, duo dips, those coveted visiting one of the or both of the islands at least once. Some of them are going twice, but the duo dips, man, 33 of them in this release. That's close to like 25% of this release, I think it is. That is duo dips. We've got a number of holiday sailings. You'll see 24 of them, Halloween on the High Seas designated already, 43 of them, very maritime cruises. The other thing I wanted to showcase here is, man, is Disney leaning hard into less than 7-night sailings. So you can see the distribution here at the bottom. They've got 29 of these things are 3 nights, or 3 nights, 39 or 4 nights, 29 or 5 nights, 19 of them are 6 nights, only 29 7-night sailings, and only a combined 6 sailings that are longer than 7 nights out of this release. So they are really leaning hard.
A couple of them are only 8 nights. I want to point out there are what we have listed as unthemed or regular standard sailings. That doesn't necessarily mean that they won't get a theming attached to them later. We've seen with Disney Cruise Line in the past, not announcing what's Pixar Day at Sea and not announcing what's Marvel Day at Sea when they do these itinerary releases, and then releasing that information later. So if you book a sailing that doesn't have theming and it happens to be, let's say mostly in February and some even in late January, there is a chance that you're sailing. Yeah, even some in March. That's right. There is a chance that some of your sailing or that your sailing might get themed as a Marvel Day at Sea or a Pixar Day at Sea or something else if they introduce something else. So here the graphic you see here is actually, let's call it like fast forward live right from fall 2027. It's showing the movement of all the different ships. As you can see, Singapore all by itself on the right hand of the screen.
I love the adventure over there in the bottom right, just going bang, bang, bouncing back and forth and then stopping while the other ships are going because we just don't have the itineraries for going out that far.
Exactly. And the only one that significantly moves, there's only 2 ships that make sort of significant moves, and those are the Magic and the Wish. The others make, I'll call them less significant moves. That doesn't mean they don't move, but they move in terms of home port. They move to the Caribbean or they move within Florida. And so we'll talk about those a little more. But we just thought this was kind of cool. And as you can see, the information that we have on the ships is different per ship. So I actually looked at this and I was trying to figure out, I'll give you a little teaser right now, or maybe I'll give you a little piece of dessert right now. So the Magic sailings go until April 24th, but she's likely going to Alaska. She's likely going to go back through the Panama Canal to go back to Alaska in 2028. We don't know that for sure, but I would put good money on that. The Dream finishes in Fort Lauderdale on April 25th on this itinerary release. The Destiny finishes in Port Canaveral on May 4th. The Treasure finishes in Port Canaveral on May 5th. The Wish finishes in Port Canaveral on May 7th. And the Fantasy finishes, I believe actually, well, I might be wrong if it's Port Canaveral or Port Everglades. I can't remember. I might have written it down wrong. On May 18th. And the reason I point those out is because I was trying to figure out which ship could be going over to Europe in 2028?
Port Canaveral, Sam. It ends in fantasy, ends in Port
It
Canaveral.
does end in Port Canaveral. Okay,
Yep.
Thank you. That's why I wrote it down correctly. Anyway, I think the most likely, and this is not a definite because it could be a Wish class ship that goes over to Europe, just not the Wish. It could be the Destiny or the Treasure by these calculations. But I think the most likely ship that's going to go over to Europe in 2028 is going to be the Disney Dream because she finishes April 25th. And it's usually the ship that's going to do the transatlantic crossing and do the European sailing is either going to do it the very end of April or the first couple of days of May. And I think that the Destiny would be May 4th. The Treasure would be May 5th. You're starting to get later with the Wish May 7th. I think it's most likely that we're not going to see the Wish or another Wish class ship go to Europe that season, I guess, unless it could be obviously the newest ship in the fleet, the Believe, in 2028. But I think that's very unlikely.
That's a stretch.
Yeah. So that's my prediction. A prediction from Sleuthing Sam you get at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, and Linda, to answer your comment, the Magic is going to Vancouver in April. Another short dry dock. The Magic class ships pretty much have to dry dock for some period,
every other year.
Every other year now, and in some cases they were doing it every year just for like a hull cleaning and stuff like that. But when they were doing the Australia season, so yes, they will. Those ships are going to be in and out of dry dock constantly. But as I said on the live show the other night, it's kind of like just taking your car in for an oil change. I mean, they're just cleaning the ship and making sure everything's running properly, and doing minor repairs and things. But I do not expect any like significant investment and retheming on those ships or new spaces coming to those ships. I think that they are largely marching toward end of life, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Hard pill to swallow.
It is. It's hard. It is. Well, should we talk about the new ports first, Brian?
Yeah. So this map that we're displaying has what are either first time calls on these ports fleet wide. So you can see there the ports there in Panama are flashing red. They are fleet-wide maiden calls. Disney has not visited these ports. St. John's, Newfoundland. As near as we can tell, the Magic and one of the other ships. Actually, let me click on it because they've got the story down below. They've tried to visit St. John's, Newfoundland several times, but through some digging here, what we've learned is that the Magic was supposed to call there in May of 2015 on the transatlantic, but was canceled because of ice. September 2017, there was another attempt that was canceled due to weather. They had to adjust the transatlantic sailing because of weather. And then in 2020, they were supposed to make their call finally, but the pandemic hit. So while they have had Newfoundland on the schedule, St. John's, Newfoundland on the schedule, we think this is actually a maiden call there. You'll also see there is the Fantasy, I think it is visiting Bermuda for the first time. So that is a maiden call for that ship, not for the fleet. And of course, for the home port, the Destiny will be moving up to Port Canaveral. So this is her first time sailing in and out of that home port outside of maiden voyage
previews,
things. Previews and things like that. And then obviously we've got
some past previews, but not any full-time sailings out of there.
And obviously we've got some returns, some big returns. We'll talk more about New York here in a bit. But obviously because of those sailings, they'll also be returning to New England and Canada for the first time in nearly 4 years. So some firsts for the cruise line,
and Malaysia.
Old favorites.
We've also
Malaysia. Yeah. So the Adventure is going to be calling on, and Jamie, help me out. You had the pronunciation.
Langkawi.
Langkawi. Yeah.
Yes.
A little mini deep dive on Malawi this afternoon. That was fun. This is like a nice port stop, actually, and I'm so happy the Adventure is going to have a stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the sailings.
And I did get a message from a friend of the show, June, who is sailing on one of the itineraries. Actually, I believe it's like the late December itineraries that's actually going to go to Langkawi. And they sent her like what port excursion or port adventures are available for that sailing, because I think she's sailing concierge. And so the booking window is going to open, and it looks like there's some nice things. I'll post post on our socials on Instagram the screenshots of what the port adventures are that it sounds like are going to be available for people sailing on the adventure who go to Langkawi. So I think that's going to be really helpful for some folks. I just got that like a little bit before the show, so I hadn't had time to really look at it or post it yet. All right. Well, speaking of that, let's do kind of a rundown ship by ship. I want to first say, actually, I should have said this at the top of the show, but I gotta say like a huge thank you to Jamie for joining us tonight. Doing these itinerary release shows is not easy because it requires a lot of time and effort in scouring the itineraries. And I know that she's doing it for her clients and herself also, but I'm very glad to have someone who is here that is a full-time TA, who is a Disney expert, Disney Cruise Line expert, and really invested in doing this deep dive because, like I said, it is a hard kind of show to cover. She's got all the notes, including her favorites. Favorite itineraries from this itinerary release, which we'll get to later on in the show. But Jamie, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to have you run.
Actually, Sam, can I just really quickly, because people are going to ask this because you've got the monocle out, you've got the hat on, sleuthing Sam with a little help from AI and then some serious fact checking here.
Is a good one.
We did identify there are only 2 gaps in the schedule and both are 1 day each. And effectively, they are just a repositioning sailing for 1 day to get the ship to where it needs to be for its next set of itineraries. So we did not identify any significant gaps in the schedule. You can see that on the timeline. There's a gap right here. There's a black space and right here. But there are no other significant gaps.
Your cursor, Brian. But yeah, so it's on the first line, which is the Dream, and then further down there. Oh, now I see it. And now further down is the Destiny. And so there's a 1 night gap, and it's when it's in, I believe it's November for the Dream. Is that right, Brian? And actually, it's they're not too far apart in dates. Sorry, I can't read that. But in terms of each 1 night gaps,
November 18th to the 19th. The Dream is dark for 1 night, and the Destiny is November 29th to November 30th, dark for 1 night.
So, and it's when the Dream is repositioning from Port Everglades to Port Canaveral, and when the Destiny is repositioning. The other way around. Dream will be repositioning from Port Canaveral to Port Everglades. Destiny will be repositioning from Port Everglades to Port Canaveral. Okay, so we're going to do ship by ship. And don't worry, I'm not going to make Jamie handle all of the vegetables, but we're going to start with the vegetables. Jamie, why don't we start with the adventure?
Oh, yeah. We got to get it out of the way.
Exactly.
So we're looking at the 3 nights and the 4 nights. But if you want to make the port stop, it's only select sailings. I want to say it was like a third to a half of them. Yeah. But you also want to keep in mind, I learned this, the rainy season in Malaysia is September and October. So, a day at sea in the rain versus a port stop in the rain may still be worthwhile, but you keep that in mind. So I like those November and December dates for the port stop too, but pretty standard. I think, I know you had a great number of listeners who've made the trek to Singapore, and I've been the most excited to hear those shows, but if I ever end up there, it's probably a one and done for me, I'm thinking.
Yeah. And that's what, Sam told us yesterday on the live show. They really enjoyed going on the adventure, and her kids actually really loved the adventure. But it's just so far away for most of us here in the States that if you're going, you probably want to pair it with a bigger trip to Asia. Yeah. Maybe go to, Disney, Hong Kong, Disney, or maybe, it's a long trip to Japan, but maybe going there and seeing the parks there and doing, some other stuff. So yeah, there's just plenty to do over there. Okay, let's go, because there's not really anything more to talk about with that ship. Let's stay in our vegetables. And we're going to talk about the Disney Wonder. Mm-hmm. Brian, why don't you take us there? And there's some great itineraries, don't get me wrong, but it's just nothing new. So yeah,
nothing
Jamie,
revolutionary.
Tell our listeners and watchers, our live audience, what we're looking at in terms of the Wonder.
Pretty standard Mexican Riviera. I noticed there's a couple calls to Puerto Vallarta, but not as many, probably because a little bit of unrest there. And so a lot of the 3-4 night ones, a lot of the Baja, Mexico. It's not my favorite itinerary. It's fine. But I think for anyone on the West Coast, it's such a great opportunity to get on the ship, to get on a great ship, the Wonder, and just kind of get a good taste for it. Those 3-4 night things are a really good sweet spot for first time cruisers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this could be a really good first time cruise if you're kind of from the Midwest on.
Yeah, totally agree. And listen, there are quite a few sailings that stop at Catalina. Catalina is a great little port. You are going to go to Ensenada on most of these sailings. Ensenada's okay. It's kind of like Nassau where you might not want to get off the ship, but there are things to do if you do want to get off the ship. There are quite a few, itineraries that do hit Cabo because Cabo's not too far away.
Cabo is amazing.
Yeah,
Cabo's worth the trip.
Yeah, Cabo is fun. And so, ones that are 5-night sailings or longer often hit Cabo. And then there's a couple that hit, as you mentioned, Puerto Vallarta or Mazatlan. There are also a couple of repositionings, of course, because you've got to get between San Diego and Vancouver for the Alaska season.
Well, so a couple of things I noticed out of this. One, I think more 7-night sailings than I've seen historically be released by Disney out of San Diego. So if you want to go to Puerto Vallarta, which by far, Cabo and Puerto Vallarta they're great stops. And Mazatlan are great stops on the West Coast.
I like Vallarta better than Mazatlan. Yeah.
And better weather. You're going to get warmer weather if on those sailings because you go a lot further south.
But you're going to need the 7 nights to do that. So those 7-night sailings are primarily everything shorter than 7 nights. You're pretty much going to Ensenada or Catalina, sea days, that sort of stuff. The weather will be fairly similar the entire cruise because the weather around San Diego is about the same for Catalina and Ensenada. But if you want to get further south in the Mexican Riviera, you gotta do a 7-night sailing. Like the headline here, P.S., I mean, we're talking about our vegetables, but we got 2 14-night Panama Canal cruises with brand new stops in Panama. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the Magic, though, not the Wonder.
That's the Magic.
Yeah. I'm on the Magic. I'm on the Magic. I'm on the Magic. Sorry.
Wonder staying East Coast.
Yeah, Wonder staying on the West Coast the whole time. Yeah.
That almost like doubles the number of 7-night sailings even in this itinerary release between the two ships. So that's a lot of West Coast San Diego love for folks.
Yeah, there is. If you look, actually, Brian, why don't you click on Home Port San Diego? Give us that view to just show how many.
We've got 29.
Can you do it on the timeline? I think it's a little easier to kind of visualize it there. There we go. Yeah. So by San Diego Home Port, that's a lot. All of those individual kind of bubbly looking things. Those are all individual sailings. And so you actually have, the red ones are like the repositioning ones, the one-way ones. But everything else is a, sort of round trip sailing. So there's a lot there. And the green ones, by the way, are maritime sailing. So that's how they're coded.
And orange is Halloween on the high seas.
Is Halloween, yeah.
Oh, well done.
Brian coded everything. So yeah, I think there's some really good itineraries on the West Coast. All right, now let's go to the Magic because the Magic does have, so of course, more variation. Jamie, why don't you cover the Magic too?
I will. And I do want to say one thing about the Wonder is a lot of us talk about land and sea out of Port Canaveral doing Disney World and a sailing. Even Port Everglades is doable. But you don't think about this. You can do Disneyland and the Wonder actually really easily, especially with those shorter cruises. You could obviously do the 7-night with Disneyland, but we can really set up that land and sea on the West Coast for you too. I think that's a really nice option. So
that's a really good point. We do this. We definitely have done that, and I don't think it's too difficult to travel between San Diego and Orange County. It's definitely doable either with renting a car or hiring a car service, or there's train options as well. So
that's right. Yeah, that would be fun. Oh, we'll get into Amtrak when we talk about New York later. I'm excited. Okay. Well, the ones I was excited about Magic are obviously the Panama Canal. That is a special cruise. That's a bucket list item for some people. And there's some really neat kind of stops around there because sometimes if you go to Cologne, I believe sometimes they have excursions, at least on other cruise lines, where you're going to sail the locks, but then you can actually go and see the canal, from the land perspective. So that's a really good one to point out. I think if you can do a 14 night, that's going to be awesome, and not quite as rough of water as the transatlantic would be. So
yeah, and these ones, these are new ports for Disney Cruise Line. The two Panama cruise ports are new ports, because while Disney Cruise Line has done the Panama Canal before, it has not done these ports of call in Panama. So those, yeah,
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's Cologne. It's Cologne.
Yeah,
Cologne, Panama, and Fuerte Amador are the two new port calls in Panama. You get one on the eastbound and one on the westbound side of things. They don't stop in both, but yeah, those are. It's always exciting to get a new port stop for sure.
I love these. Yeah, San Diego.
Yeah, and what it tells us is means the Magic is going to be doing, of course, its Alaska season, which we already knew for 2027, and then it's going to, do some San Diego sailings, and then it's going to do its Panama Canal. Then it will do sailings out of Galveston. I will say the sailings out of Galveston are not like super exciting or anything really to write home about. But we know that those Texas folks are loving having a ship close to them. That's all they care. I mean, I will say they all want a different ship other than the Magic. Now they've had the Magic several times. Any of our listeners and friends who are in Texas keep telling us, "Can we get a new ship? Can we get a new ship?" And I'm sorry, the answer is no. The other thing I want to say,
I was just going to say really fast here. I mean, Galveston only got 8 itineraries in this release. I think there was a lot of chatter online about a port agreement, more stops in Galveston, more departures out of Galveston. Sam did a little sleuthing on that.
Yeah. So I want to tell you what I found. I found that while there was a meeting in 2025 where the port, let's call them port commissioner, head of the port, I don't remember what his title was, had said something about Disney committing to Galveston all year round, and they were in negotiations. I have not found an actual contract or any information about the fact that they signed a contract. Now, when public ports are in negotiations with cruise lines, that information might be covered by a non-disclosure agreement. It may not be public. But if it is a public port, once the agreement is signed, it is accessible under most state laws. Under most state laws similar to the Freedom of Information Act, most states have public disclosure laws. And so the fact that we haven't seen any agreement or any article after that meeting anytime since, it's been over a year, I think means that they're still operating under their prior port agreement. And so they still only have a partial commitment with Galveston and not a full year commitment. So I know there's a lot of folks in the chat, or several folks in the chat, saying, is the Believe going to go to Galveston? And I'm going to say no. Now I can't. And I put my sleuthing Sam monocle.
Not in the near term, in the near term.
Not in its inaugural season. So I do not believe that the Believe will home port out of Galveston when it comes out in 2027. I would put good money on that belief. So I know there are people who want that, but I'm sorry, I don't think that's happening.
So I want
to. New hot girl's not going to Galveston yet.
New hot girl's not going to Galveston. That's right.
She's going to the dedicated ports with the Mickey ears.
That's right. Yeah.
I want to make a couple of observations about Galveston here, specifically in the Magic, which is we are once again seeing sailings that are leaving from Galveston and going to the private islands, which for a long time was not happening. We even have a duo dip in here that stops at both islands. We've got several sailings here listing stops at Castaway or Lookout. So don't sleep on those. This is your opportunity to sail out of Texas and actually make it to one of the private island destinations, which has been something that's stopped us from going. Is if I'm going to sail the Caribbean, I really want to hit one of those islands. There's a question in the chat I thought would be good for you, Jamie, which is someone was asking eastbound or westbound. Which one do you like better?
Now?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know if it really. I don't know. I truly don't think it matters. What it's going to come down to is the time of year, because let's see.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Westbound
too.
is March, which is spring break-ish. So if you have time, eastbound is November 4th through 18th. So, depending on the time of year, weather-wise, they're probably going to be pretty similar. And I think the port stops are pretty similar too. So that's a good question. I don't have a strong answer for that. I think it comes down to when you're available, because 14 days is a big commitment. For sure.
I would probably vote for the eastbound, only because of the timing not being near. So the March one not being near hurricane season. So that's hurricane season in the Caribbean is in November. It's like October, November, December, right? And that's the height of hurricane season. And so you'd be leaving from that area. You'd be leaving from Galveston, right? And then heading westbound. Yeah. So, I mean, you're not likely to hit bad weather of course, not going through the canal or anything. You're not going to have rough seas, but I mean, there could be an issue when you're leaving Galveston, I guess. There could be, weather.
I'd also say just look at the ports and know thyself, right? So like this one is lighter on the West Coast ports. They've got a Cabo stop, Ensenada, which is the Nassau of the West Coast, effectively. Whereas if you look at the eastbound version, they've got Cabo, Puerto Vallarta, then Panama. It looks like
Cartagena.
And Cartagena. So like I would just look at the port stops. If you're available for both, I would look at the port stops and just kind of like decide which ports do you want to visit. So yeah. All right, where are we headed next, Sam?
Okay, go take me back to the list of all the ships. I'm going up. If you, I figured I'd go up. Let's jump over to the Disney Dream.
I was going to say we should do Dream.
Yeah, Dream, and we gotta. Of course we're gonna talk about the Wish last, you guys. So
dessert.
Yeah, dessert. Exactly.
Excited for that.
Yeah. So the Dream has been doing a ton of sailings out of Fort Lauderdale. It's been mostly doing the 455 pattern, and it's going to do that for a while, and then of course it's going to reposition back up to Port Canaveral. And while the Wish is doing other things, the Dream is going to take over those 3 and 4 night sailings again. So the Dream used to do the 3 and 4 night sailings out of Port Canaveral. It's going to be picking up that itinerary again, but if it does have some other stuff kind of mixed in here. There's some really cool, I would have to say, across the fleet, there are some really cool and unique sailings that are maritime sailings, less so on the Dream, more so on the Fantasy, but it changes, it's going to change its pattern from the 455 back to the 34. And then, it's going to, and as we mentioned, it's going to be moving from Port Canaveral. It's sort of doing this back and forth to Port Canaveral to cover for the Wish, essentially, and then back down to Port Everglades.
Is this 6 night? It says 2 days at Disney Castaway. I didn't look at it on the sheet. Is it like an overnight at Castaway Cay?
Ooh, has it ever happened before?
I don't.
Can they do that?
I don't know.
I kind of want to go dig into that itinerary for a second. I'm going to go look at that offline, but it caught my attention.
Which one is it, Brian?
November 22nd. It's a 6-night Bahamian Very Maritime cruise.
That's the Thanksgiving one. That's a good one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It just says 2 days. I doubt it's not in that order, but you never know, I guess.
That would be cool.
So the information from all of these sailings is pulled from Disney's PDF. And so that's, so the way the ports are listed, that's the way that Disney has them listed on their PDF, because that's the way that the AI was able to pull the information to create all of these amazing graphics that Brian told it to.
So it looks like, from my vantage, the Disney Dream is effectively only stopping at private islands and occasionally at Nassau. I don't see any, even on these longer sailings, Yeah, there's it's effectively just going to the private islands and stopping at Nassau. So
Yeah.
I got to tell you why I'm excited about this, though. So the Dream, historically, over the last few years, has seemed to be the least expensive, even less than the Magic and Wonder, probably because of the itinerary. So this is an amazing starter cruise. If you're looking at your first or even second Disney cruise, this is it. This is the Dream. It's going Port Canaveral, Port Canaveral, Port Everglades. We're doing comfortable stops. You know, if you're new to cruising, maybe you're not going to go to Colombia. You're going to go to Castaway Key. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's actually a great plan to get comfortable at Castaway Key. You're not paying any extra for excursions. Like this is a really, really good starter cruise. And I'm so glad we have a ship that can kind of fill that void. And the Dream is really special too. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and you have the Midship Detective Agency, which is the best game across the fleet. On both go find Pepe's door. Yeah, and go solve the clues and figure out
this is just
who
like
stole the
a
stuff.
good, easy intro. Probably going to be an amazing price point. I'm ready for this one.
Yeah. Nice. That's a really good point, Jamie. We don't always when we talk about these itineraries, we don't always talk about the prices because it's very hard to do that on like sort of the macro level, but you are probably going to see some great deals on the Disney Dream to continue to come out, especially because they're doing these 3, 4, and 5 night itineraries. And I think you're absolutely right. The private islands are the way to go in terms of a first time cruise or just kind of an easy cruise, and one where you want it to feel more like everything is included because you really don't need to book any excursions at Castaway or Lookout to have a fabulous time.
Oh, I'm so excited about this. So this is like a good niche market for that. Now, your listeners are, this maybe not for you. Maybe we're taking the Dream off for a couple of years, but for some other market, this is huge. This is great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, let's jump to the treasure. We're back for some vegetables, but delicious vegetables.
Vegetables. She's a star.
These are like our roasted. Yeah, these are like our roasted Brussels sprouts, but they have bacon in them, right? So
that is the best analogy.
We have the treasure is generally going to be doing her thing, which is the 7-night Eastern Western flip flop, right? But there are a couple of, there's an 8-night there thrown in, and then to get her back on her schedule, there's a 6-night thrown in there as well. So there are a couple of, so there are a couple of itineraries that are a little off the regular schedule. She's mostly doing her standard Eastern and Western stops, but there are a couple of different ports thrown in there depending upon the itinerary. So delicious vegetables, bacon, not scented, flavored Brussels sprouts. Okay.
And I don't think we need to talk about if Destiny is going to kick Treasure out of, Terminal 8 and take that spot, and Treasure's getting kicked over to Terminal 10, which is the non-Mickey Airport terminal, which I have to prep my clients for. Like, you're not going to get the photo. I'm so sorry.
So I'm going to say no, Jamie, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the 3-4 night sailing has to be out of Terminal 10. And Destiny is not doing the 3-4 night sailing. Destiny's been doing, let's go there right now, Brian. Destiny has been doing the 5-5-4 pattern, right? It's not really going to change it up too much, except it's going to change its home port. So right now it's doing, Western sailings and Bahamian sailings. And there's, a little bit of a switch between which kind of Bahamian sailing. And it mostly hits private islands and Cozumel across those sailings. It's actually not going to be changing too much when it changes ports. So when it moves in November of 2027 from Port Everglades to Port Canaveral, it's going to stay on that 5-5-4 pattern, which the Fantasy is currently doing. And so it means the Destiny and the Treasure would have to be out of Terminal 8. And the Wish would have to be out of Terminal 10. See, this is what people are paying me the big bucks for, right? Like this is where I earn my keep.
You're getting paid big bucks, Sam, because I'm not.
No, I'm not. I get paid in those sweet listener 5-star reviews. That's what I get paid in.
There you go. Yeah, so I think
All right.
I
I think
do like this though.
yeah.
Yeah, I like it too. I like it too.
Yeah.
Lots of private island. Destiny is another great one in terms of if you're newer to sailing. As Jamie mentioned, when you're hitting private islands only or mostly, and you're talking 5 and 4 night sailings, obviously not as short as the 3 and 4 night
Perfect.
sailings. Yeah, it's a really good. If you're not sure if you're going to
Perfect.
get seasick, you're staying you're staying in the Bahamas with generally calmer seas than if you're going to be doing anything that goes, out really far. Or sailing sort of up and down the Atlantic significantly, or on a transatlantic, for example. All right.
Yeah, and
So,
much more. Oh, I'll add one more thing too. Much more
yeah.
IP heavy intellectual property, like Wish, Treasure, Destiny. So if you want, the Disney IP in your face, you want Marvel, you want Star Wars, you want this. Those are your ships. Those are the 3 you want to go for, because the Dream and the Fantasy are a little more understated, Art Deco. Obviously very Disney, but it's not like you're eating in Arendelle with Elsa. So
Yeah.
that's a nice thing. So I like that. I obviously love the Destiny. Here we are. But that's a really good thing to know, like what kind of style you want for your cruise experience too.
Yeah. If you're a classic Disney fan and you're really big on the Fab Five, I think you actually should lean towards the first 4 ships. But if you are more into sort of the newer IP, like Frozen or Marvel stuff, or as you mentioned, Star Wars, then I would say, not that Star Wars is newer IP, just newer in Disney owning it, and same with Marvel. But then you might skew towards the kind of the newer ships, and we'll of course hear more about the Believe coming soon in terms of theming. All right. Let's go to the Disney Fantasy before we hit the Disney Wish. That will be our last ship. And then, of course, we're going to talk more prognostications and some favorites. If you're listening to us right now, chances are pretty good that you love Disney vacations as much as we do. But even seasoned travelers know there's a ton to keep up with when it comes to Disney Cruise Line. From cruise itineraries to the perfect stateroom for your family, shore excursions, and onboard experiences. And if you're planning to visit the Disney parks before or after your cruise, then there's even more to plan, from the perfect resort to lightning lane strategies, dining reservations, park tickets, special offers, and much, much more.
That's where We Do Travel Right comes in. Their team of experienced travel advisors specializes in Disney Cruise Line, Disney parks, and other exciting places all around the world. They take the time to understand what matters most to your family, providing personalized recommendations and helping you navigate all the details so you can spend less time stressing and more time looking forward to your vacation. Whether it's your first Disney cruise or your 10th, having an expert in your corner can make all the difference.
Life is short. Take the trip. Visit WeDoTravelRight.com/DCLDuo to connect with a travel advisor and start planning your next unforgettable adventure.
We Do Travel Right, the crew that handles the planning so you can focus on relaxing.
Okay. The Disney Fantasy, I think, has some really cool itineraries. This to me is like, we have the most variety. We've got a bunch of stuff from San Juan. We have like more Caribbean ports than I feel like I've ever seen on a Disney Cruise Line itinerary release. We can't go through every single itinerary, obviously, but there's a huge variety. Everything from like 4 night to 7 nights, but a big mix. And in terms of what ports that the ships go to, you've got like Bonaire and Curacao and Antigua and St. John. And I know I'm forgetting others, but we have like just huge variety. You've got a long list, right? There's a huge. I think that the most interesting itineraries, aside from, stuff out of New York on the Wish that we'll talk about next, is on the Fantasy. What do you think about this, Jamie?
This is having dinner at Remy. This is glorious.
This is. We're having a chef's tasting menu on the Disney Fantasy.
So good. I got to point out my 2 favorites from the Fantasy, because I wrote these down. I was like, if I could have designed it personally, this is my dream itinerary: 8 nights, March 18th through 26th, 2028, overnight in Bermuda, which is one of the best ports I visited. It is wonderful. And then again, another island that's comfortable, easy to get around. You can hop on the bus. We did a Segway tour. love Bermuda. But doing an overnight, which is so rare, you don't get overnights with Disney Cruise Line a lot, but overnight allows you to walk from your ship to the Frog and Onion pub in King's Wharf and then walk back to your ship at 11 p.m. Like, you can.
I want to go to the Frog and Onion pub. That sounds fun.
It is. We have a shirt from there. It is so great. I am the most excited about Bermuda. Obviously, you probably can't tell. And then
this Bermuda one, let me just jump in and say this Bermuda one, you're going from Florida, so you're not having to sail as far as if you're going from New York. I'll just put that out there. Now you keep going.
This is the money cruise, guys. Like, this is where it's at. And then either before or after Bermuda, you're doing the duo dip at Castaway and Lookout. Like, this is incredible. Like, you usually don't get this excited about Disney Cruise Line itineraries. And you're out of Fort Lauderdale. So, the difference between Port Canaveral and Fort Lauderdale, it doesn't sound like a lot, but the seas are even calmer going out of Fort Lauderdale. So I tell a lot of my first timers, like, I sometimes get motion sick on day one. Every single time I sail out of Fort Lauderdale, I am good to go. It's the best secret. So that's a phenomenal one. And then my other favorite one, which I'm wondering if you're going to do this one, Sam, it's the ABC Islands and then St. Martin.
I know. I want to, but I can't. We can't. What's the date of this one again? This one is April 29th through May 6th, 2028. And it goes out of San Juan. So that's important to keep in mind too, because that'll be a different flight situation, a little more potentially challenging to get to and from some parts, but those are really great. I'm very excited about that. But I love the variety of the fantasy, and she's gorgeous. A lot, like, she started in, is it 2011 or 12? And she holds up and she's beautiful, just like the dream. So, and that's another really nice thing about Disney Cruise. I can comfortably send somebody on an older ship, whereas I'm not as comfortable sending people on older ships on other cruise lines. So I can put my faith and trust in Disney to put on a good show.
I don't
want to be too on the nose.
I gotta say that like this 7-night that's going to stop in St. Lucia, that also sounds like a really fun, cruise. And then the other 8-night Caribbean that they had that's stopping at San Juan, St. John's, Phillipsburg, St. Martin, like that looks like a good one.
These are phenomenal.
This Southern Caribbean cruise, though, is just I'm gonna repeat
Aruba, Curacao.
I'm gonna repeat my plea. Disney, 11 nights, Southern Caribbean, bring it back.
Yes. You could see so many. There's so many ports, especially when you leave from San Juan. That's the key. That's why they do Southern Caribbean from San Juan. Is you have minimal days at sea. You're port intensive, which does raise the price when you're in port a lot. That does raise the price. Yeah. But that is, oh my gosh, that's a good one. What's the date of that one?
This one's December 3rd. The ABC one is
it's a hard date to get.
I know these dates.
April
20th.
December. Like, we can't go in December.
Exactly. So the only negatives about the Disney Fantasy is that the best itineraries that they're doing on the Disney Fantasy are not during school breaks.
I mean, of course.
Not during school breaks for everyone. I think
for most people. I'm going to say for most people, they're not during elementary, middle, high school breaks. Even though it might work out for some folks who have sort of alternative schedules. So
homeschoolers rejoice. This is your time.
Exactly. I know. Yeah. Like someday we'll be empty nesters. All right.
Should we head to start spreading the news? Because the Wish is going to New York.
I said it yesterday. I said, "Welcome to New York, Mr. Wish or Ms. Wish." She as soon as she comes, and her transatlantic is phenomenal. Like this
I got that on the list.
If I could do a transatlantic, this is like my dream transatlantic. Right? You get to you get to stop in Scotland. You get to stop in Iceland. You get to stop in. Is this the one that stops in Newfoundland?
Yep, Newfoundland.
I want to be a Newfoundlander. I'm going to kiss the fish. That's what I want to do.
It is overnight, again, in Reykjavík, Iceland. Like, this is You guys cannot sleep on this one. This is incredible.
We were
The
supposed to go to
date-
Iceland and didn't, of
Yes.
course.
So this is September 17th through 29th, 2027, from Southampton to New York City, which is, I mean, that's classic. That's classic, like ocean liner time. Like, oh, I love it. So,
so good.
This is a good one. Yep. Oh,
And then,
Allison
of course,
is just real fast. Allison is pointing out, I did not see this, that the Fantasy is doing a double dip to Lookout, which I have not seen double dips
I haven't
to
seen
Lookout
that yet.
Yeah,
I wrote that one down too. The Destiny's got a double dip at Lighthouse too. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
September 20th to 25th, which is double dip at Lighthouse. That's really cool. That's new.
Yeah.
Thanks, Allison.
That's gonna. I mean, those are definitely awesome and unique. But come on, guys, we're talking about New York. Okay, so the overview I want to say once the Wish gets to New York, the overview is that she's doing a mix of sailings. It's basically October of 2027. And she's going to be doing sailings that go to Canada, New England, generally, right? Sometimes skipping New England and just going to Canada.
Oh, port stop in Boston. I missed this.
Yes.
Boston.
Oh, you didn't see this? Yeah, this is a great one. It's not a new port for Disney Cruise Line, but it's a return, and it was a rare port that it has hit before. And then, of course, it's going to do some Bermuda sailings, and then it has one sailing that Jamie and I were talking about, and this is, it's kind of bananas. It's like how many miles was it? So you go to Canada and Bermuda. Jamie, tell everyone how many nautical miles you would travel on this sailing. This is what I actually is on my do not recommend list. I'm going to put that.
No, I don't either, actually. And I will tell you, as a travel agent, I don't recommend this sailing. So I saw this and I did like a double take and said, this is ridiculous. We're sailing. I put it in the sailing distance calculator, 1,935 miles. So 1,935 nautical miles in 6 nights. And to give you a frame of reference, like Alaska, which you traverse a lot, in 7 nights is usually like 1,600 nautical miles. So this is absurd. I don't know. Like, I want to be in the meeting where they're like, let's do Canada and Bermuda and all in 6 nights. People will love it. And I'm like, it's just absolutely absurd, because we talk about, what are you going to pack? You're packing a puffy coat and a bathing suit, like
and Bermuda shorts, right?
I cannot deal with this itinerary. It's off my list.
Sean's pointing out in the chat. I wanted to. So Sean is saying, sure, Boston's a good stop. Just know that a lot of the excursions they offer in Boston you can actually do for free. And it sounds like Sean's signing up for excursion number 4527, which is meet and greet with Sean. So there you go. I'm making that up, but he did offer to meet up with him.
We love Sean.
A quarter of the travel agents at We Do Travel Right are within like a stone's throw of Boston, so we can put together. They can put, not me, the most perfect itinerary from Boston, no charge. They'll tell you exactly what to do.
Exactly. They'll tell you all the places to go, and you don't need a Disney Cruise Line excursion for Boston. But absolutely. Not to say, so the New York itineraries are awesome. I would love to do one of those New England, Canada ones, or one of the ones that's just Canada. The ones to Bermuda seem like just like too much time in cold seas. And a lot of people were saying, well, why does this only go through October? Why not November? And the answer is New York winter. That's why it doesn't go later in the year, is because it starts to get cold. And sailing out of New York, the first couple of days, you're on the Atlantic. The Atlantic, you're pretty far out. The Atlantic is not very calm until you get down to the Bahamas and the Caribbean. So these are sailings,
and that's really the Caribbean Sea. So
right. Yeah. And so Jamie and I were talking about this ahead of show, and she's got a great post on her socials. It's Best Day Ever with Jamie. If you're not following Jamie, please follow her on Instagram. She's awesome. But she's got this great reel with a caption explaining why she wouldn't recommend sailing out of New York for first-time cruisers, especially if you're worried about any kind of seasickness. So it is going to be colder sailing out of New York. I think these are great for an experienced cruiser and for people, of course, who live within driving distance of New York City. That's fantastic. I think it's iconic to sail out of New York. I would love to do it.
It is.
The dates are not going to work
my
for
goodness.
us. But Jamie, what's the one that catches your eye the most in terms of the New York itineraries?
Oh gosh. Well, obviously transatlantic, but we're not going to count her. So I think that also I would caution against the 4-night Bermuda. That is a lot. That's too fast.
Go really fast. Yeah.
For too far of a distance. I mean, I love Bermuda and I love sailing out of New York, and I did that on a different cruise line, and we had one of those aft facing balconies. So I will never, the core memory of sitting on my aft balcony with, Statue of Liberty in the towers, behind us. And it was absolutely gorgeous. So sailing out of New York truly is iconic. And I'm calling it like Broadway to Bermuda because, I want to plan like your pre-cruise stay. We're going to go see some shows. We're going to sail out of New York. It's going to be awesome. If it's not your first cruise. So, yes. But you asked which one I like. This one ideally actually is the 5-night Bermuda, New York to San Juan, just because you're not going back and forth. It involves, a one-way flight or an open jaw itinerary, but that's okay. And this is really special. So, and then was there a 6-night Bermuda? No,
I think it might be. I think it's
other than the crazy one,
only the crazy one. Yeah, the Bermuda and Canada one.
How do we feel about this 5-night reposition cruise?
That's the one that Jamie was just talking about. That's the one that she likes. Yeah,
okay. I like it a lot.
And then you get more warm weather because you'll stay down there. So that's her reposition essentially.
Here's another thing too. If you can stay on for the next two, what do you call them? Side by side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or no, that's two different.
Back to back. You're staying on the same ship. Yeah.
Same ship. So you'll do a back to back, and because then the Wish goes from San Juan. I think it's a 7-day Southern Caribbean, and then after that is that 4-day I was pointing out where it goes repositions from San Juan to Port Canaveral. And I think it goes to Castaway and Lookout. I mean, if you got the time, I would go New York to Port Canaveral by way of, Bermuda and all the port stops. That is so cool. So
yeah,
but I like
agree. All those repositioning, the sailing out of San Juan and then the repositioning before and after, I think are fantastic. What I will tell you is you're going to eat some vegetables after that because the Wish is going back to Port Canaveral and taking back over her 3 and 4 night sailings out of Port Canaveral, which brings us to which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But
we got a whole lot of that. So
but it brings us to my prediction and talking about the Believe because I'm thinking, Brian, can you go back to the map, of where the ships are going to be? Okay. So we know based on all of this stuff and the stuff Disney has announced, the stuff they haven't announced, that the Believe is coming out in late 2027. We know that the Dream and the Destiny are swapping places, and the Fantasy, of course, is going to be, swapping places as well in sort of late November 2027 is when all of the movement seems to happen. So my prediction is we're going to see the Disney Believe come out sometime in December of 2027. And I would put good money on this, that the Believe will be sailing out of Fort Lauderdale, not out of Port Canaveral. And I'll put my monocle on again, but they're not going to have all 4 Wish class ships going out of Port Canaveral. They're going to want to have at least 1 Wish class ship as the draw to Fort Lauderdale. Of course, they'll have a draw in terms of, the Fantasy and the Dream, because they'll have probably some good deals, as we mentioned on the Dream, maybe even on the Fantasy. She's got some unique itineraries, but because she's sailing out of Fort Lauderdale, you might get a deal on that ship as well. Just because in general, Port Canaveral is just a more desirable port for a lot of people because you're close to Disney World and the airports are a little bit easier to get to. 100%.
So you've got a comment in the chat that Lindsay is agreeing with you. 3 ships in Fort Lauderdale seems But 3 ships in Fort Lauderdale seems nuts.
I'm going to tell you, I use this is where, so Brian always uses AI. I am not an AI super user, let's call it. I do use it, but I'm not a super user. Brian, I would call is a super user, meaning somebody who uses it like every day in their life. I used AI. I put all this data that you have seen in front of you on tonight's show. I put it into Claude. I'm not getting paid by whatever Anthropic. Yeah, I'm not getting paid by Anthropic, but I put all this data into Claude and I asked it I gave it 3 options starting in January of 2028 when all the ships kind of seem to get into a regular pattern. If we put an extra ship in Fort Lauderdale, but did not increase berthing space, so still with one terminal for Disney Cruise Line, what of the 3 standard patterns could fit into the itinerary? And so when I say 3 standard patterns is there's a 3-4 night pattern, right? So it gets you on a 7-day schedule. That's one option. There is a 4-5-5 pattern that gets you, it's a 14-day schedule, right? So it also gets you on a 2-week pattern of when the ship's going to be docking. And then the other pattern is a 7-night pattern. And I asked it to look at all 3 and figure out based on the dates that the other 2 ships, the Fantasy and the Dream, were going to be in port. Where could another ship fit in? And the only one that fit in a standard pattern was a 7-night cruise pattern on either Tuesday or Thursday. So it would have to leave Tuesdays or Thursdays. Ooh. That's a weird one, but it's the only one. Yeah, but it's the only one that fit. Now, so either the Believe will be doing a standard 7-night pattern on a Tuesday or Thursday, or in its inaugural season, we could see it doing more mixed itineraries, kind of like what the Fantasy
could you mix up the, because you mentioned the standard, so 7-night is 7-night. They're always trying to aim for like a total of 7 to 14, right? But could you do just trying to think through like a creative, like could it do a 4-3-3-4, like that sort of a thing and still land there? So yeah, maybe that it's going to follow a non-standard pattern, because they do seem to like to release the new ships and put them on short sailings to get people on.
But they did the Treasure 7 nights when it came out, right? And they don't have a ship currently doing 7 nights out of Fort Lauderdale. They haven't had that yet.
Yeah, but that Tuesday, that's a terrible.
I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's the best idea I ever came up with, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Disney do it. So I can't guarantee what it's going to be, but that could be. By the way, Sean is saying, I feel like maybe instead of law, we need to put Sam in charge of our country's cold case units. She could figure out our nation's most infamous mysteries.
What am I in that? What am I in that scenario? Am I your Watson using technology in the background to like solve the case for you? Yeah.
Brian is the Watson to my Sherlock. Anyway.
This is
yes.
Someone saying
Jen saying in the chat, you could have a second.
They have had 2 ships in terminal there, so like they could rent space at a different terminal. Yeah,
right. But currently they've been just using the 1 terminal. They haven't been using 2 terminals. So yes, it's absolutely possible.
When we did the Destiny, there was definitely a time. I've been at Fort Lauderdale. They have had 2 ships in port, and so they were taking terminal space from somebody else. So
Dream and Destiny have been there the same time. Yeah. So it's a huge port terminal. So it's very possible.
It's very possible they could, and they're close together. That's the other part is in Port Everglades, the terminals are really close together. So you absolutely could. I was just trying to figure out, but I still think that my 7-night prediction, I don't know that the Tuesday, Thursday thing, that would be odd, but I still think that the 7-night really could be what's happening with the Believe, because the Dream and the Fantasy are doing what's currently happening right now, which we'll be doing in 2028. That 3-4 night will be the Dream, and the Fantasy will be doing the 4-5-5. And so it's what's missing in terms of a standard pattern. I could also see the Believe doing a 4-5-5. I don't necessarily think they'll do another. They'll have maybe 2 ships doing 3-4. Yeah, maybe so they could have 2 ships.
the mid-sized
Exactly.
girl. Yeah. So that's a
Exactly.
good entry point. And they're going to want, with these ships, they seem like they want those, like the Treasure was for us. And then the other ones are for, people wanting to try Disney ships, which I think they're great. Wish class ships are so great for, new cruisers, but also us too. I know a lot of people aren't as big on the Wish class ships, a lot of season cruisers, but I do really like them a lot.
To the question in the chat, do we think the Believe will kick one of the old ones off completely? No. I suspect that the first Meridian class that gets released, that will be preceded by an announcement. Preceded by an announcement of a final season for the Magic, most likely. I wanted to ask this question though as we wrap up here. Pricing. I usually am the one who spends the time looking through here at all the different things and kind of benchmarking like where are the prices at. It's hard because it's opening day pricing and you're trying to compare it to, a bunch of other things. I've seen some commentary that the New York sailings are looking pretty expensive for the length of sailing as compared to other sailings. Not shocked. Everyone's been screaming they want the ship back in New York, so Disney knows there's a ton of demand, and what follows demand is prices.
Fly.
Yeah, people don't have to fly.
People who live in the Northeast, at least, they don't have to fly. So I think Disney's sort of banking on, okay, well, instead of paying for 4 people's flights, I'm paying for my Easy Pass tolls on the East Coast, and I'm paying for gas, which is not cheap, but less expensive. And then I'm paying for parking. Yeah, exactly.
Get that Amtrak.
Take
on the Amtrak.
Be on the Amtrak.
Goodness.
Yeah, if you can.
Let me tell you what, that's the way to do it. Drop you into Penn Station and roll. That's the way to do it. So there's a lot of us that can get, East Coasters, Amtrak up to New York and north, down, which would be that Northeast Regional is going to have some Disney cruisers on it. We might see some ears.
That's right.
It's going to be great. But the port taxes and fees are, I'm guessing, astronomical. And that's what's driving the price of New York. The port, Port Everglades is actually a pretty good price, comparatively speaking. You're going to Manhattan. You're literally sailing out of Manhattan. Those are going to be astronomical. So that's probably a big, big part of it too. Bermuda is also very, very expensive. So to port there might cost more than Nassau.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't really think about the port fees factoring in.
But to dock in downtown, to dock in Manhattan, I'm sure it is not cheap. Yeah.
Let's tell you what. And that's why the transatlantic cruises are so inexpensive per day. You have sea days, so you have very few port taxes and fees. And, a one-way to one-way is not a huge demand. That's a hard one to do. So that's why they're priced. Like you can do it. But I think the Wish one is like $6K for a 12-night cruise to Iceland.
Yeah. And even the Panama Canal is, they're not, the Panama Canal, it might not be as inexpensive as a transatlantic because you do still have like fees to go through the canal and whatnot.
Big fees to go through the canal.
Yeah, but it's still like per night, like it is a great bang for your buck because you do have big those, time. And that's kind of the case with any of those longer sailings, when they've done Trans-Pacific or when they've done even to Hawaii, right? Like you are talking about your per night. And of course, there's no Hawaii cruises on these itineraries and we didn't expect any because
Australia.
Without Australia, New Zealand, they don't really have not that they can't. They have done it in the past where they went to Hawaii and came back and then repositioned to, San Diego or did that as their repositioning. But they don't really have as much of a reason to go there. And those don't, they're not sort of their regular bread and butter that Disney does, even though people love them.
So let me ask this. Let's just each give one. What's the cruise you're most you are actively going after in this release? Like there's all kind. I'd love to do the Panama Canal. I'd love to do the transatlantic. For us in terms of timing, one day, someday, soon. But what's the one you're going after?
All right. Well, Jamie, you start because I'm trying to find the one that I know the one I want, but I've got to pull it up.
Oh, so hold on. I'll bring the graphic back up. Yes. Tell me where I'm headed. Which ship?
I was cheating due too because I'm a seasoned cruiser. I don't know if you can see my Hamilton playbill, but we just got back from New York in June, and I'm ready to go back. I mean, we've been obviously before, but we took my daughter for the first time. So that 5-day Broadway to Bermuda, I got my eye on you. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but that would be so great. And then the other one was that fantasy overnighting in Bermuda with the duo dip. That is awesome. So those are my two that made me just kind of go, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
That's the 8-night fantasy is the one that the other Bermuda one, Brian, that she's talking about.
Because I'll be honest with you, as a travel advisor who does do other cruise lines, what I love Disney for are the ships and the service and everything. I love other cruise lines for the itinerary. So if the itineraries are great and the islands are the best. Are absolutely amazing. But the itineraries are somewhat repetitive, not as exciting sometimes. So they have the ships, and that's what you're going for. So there you go. Love the ships.
All right. I want to go back on the Disney Fantasy. We don't have any plans to be on the Disney Fantasy, and we went on her right after we went on the Treasure Maiden Voyage, so 2024. So I want to go on the Disney Fantasy. I want the 6-night Eastern Caribbean cruise, not the 6-night Bahamian. Yeah. So that one, the reason I say I want this one is, it goes over our spring break. So one of those dates is our spring break, and it goes to Lookout and Castaway, and it goes to Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic. And we went there, and actually without Nathan, we went there on a Virgin Voyages cruise, and we really liked that port. Oh, yes. And this has 2 days at sea, which is, I need 2 days at sea. Plus, of course, the private islands, and it's a round trip out of Fort Lauderdale. It's this one might be this one might not be super expensive because it goes on the Fantasy out of Fort Lauderdale as well. The alternative over our spring break is the 7-night Eastern Caribbean standard on the Treasure, because as has been the pattern the last couple of years, every time our spring break lands on the Eastern Caribbean. I don't make this up. It chooses me, and I'm happy that the Eastern Caribbean chooses us every time. But it's the standard Tortola and St. Thomas and Castaway.
I like Eastern a little bit more than Western, but they're both great.
Yeah. So those are the ones that the reason I say I'm looking at those and looking at spring break specifically is because, let's be honest, we want to sail on the Believe, probably on the Maiden Voyage if we can make it work. And so until we hear more about the Believe, and Jamie sailed with us on the Destiny Maiden Voyage. We actually met in the cruise terminal and took a picture together because Emily sent a picture of Jamie to me. Of course, Jamie already knew what Brian and I looked like from our show. And so we found each other in the port terminal, and
pretty quick. Yeah,
pretty quick. Yeah. Great. And so I am absolutely, I would love to sail on the Believe Maiden Voyage. And so that's what I am not looking to book like a million things from this itinerary release. If I had my way, I would book that transatlantic in a second, but it's just not in the cards for us with Nathan's school schedule. It's just not possible. Brian, you haven't had a chance to look in the same way that Jamie and I have.
I have not had a chance to study these. I'm going to be spending some time actually using our Itinerary Explorer tool to figure things out here. I was sort of looking around the November timeframe to see if anything would align with our Thanksgiving that was like interesting, that was different. Because I really do want to get back to some ports we haven't visited in a long time, or get to some ports that are new for us. I'm going to be looking here carefully in the next day or two at November timeframe and April timeframe, because our dance card is booked, hopefully, for the Believe. If it doesn't come out in November, it could come out in November too. We don't know anything definitive. So
that's true. Yeah. So, if you could do like a side by side with Believe and another ship, I know you did like back to back on the Destiny. That would be really nice.
One of our favorite vacations of late was we did Christmas a couple of years ago now. Yeah. And we got off the Treasure And then we got on the
That was
Fantasy for New
Mermaid
Year's
and on the
Eve, and the
Fantasy, yeah.
Fantasy was honestly like the most relaxing sailing I've had in forever because we'd done everything on the Fantasy. There's nothing new to see. We literally were just relaxing and being like, "Oh, I've seen that stage show a bunch. We can just go get drinks in the bar with our friends." So it was like the most relaxing cruise because when we're on these, for those of you listening, when we're on these sailings that are on new ships, we are running around like
You're working.
crazy trying to get all of the new stuff so that we can tell you about it and whether it's it's worth it, whether it's good, all that sort of stuff. So so I will probably be I will be using this tool we built to figure out what we're going to book. So yeah.
He's got homework to have.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
always.
That's
Actually,
right.
I'll just throw it all back into AI and give it my parameters and say, give me 10 sailings here that I should look at. Well, all right. So as we're winding down, I want to thank all of our audience out there for listening. I want to give a reminder to everyone who's out there listening later. Like, please head over to YouTube. The infographics were really, I think great, and we got a lot of good feedback on them. So it's a really great thing to head over and rewatch this show to see the graphics. If you liked the infographics, please let us know. And we'll keep doing them in the future. So Jamie, I'm going to give the plug for We Do Travel Right. If I get it wrong, let me know. But if you want to book your cruise, remember our show sponsors, We Do Travel Right. You can book through them. Head over to wedotravelright.com/DCL Duo, and you can book with them. And so head over there, show them some love. With that,
Booking dates. Booking dates.
The booking dates. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
The booking dates.
Okay.
Go for it.
So next Monday is your Pearl booking date. Tuesday is
let's give actual dates for people so they have
Monday, August 31st is your Pearl booking date. Tuesday, September 1st is your Platinum booking date. Wednesday, September 2nd is your Gold booking date, and Thursday, September 3rd is your Silver booking date. If you are if you're a DVC member, an Adventure Insider, you can book on with Silver. If you are a first-time cruiser, you are booking the following Tuesday, September 8th. And of course, if you want to book something, reach out early, especially if you're in one of those early groups, because if you have a particular kind of stateroom you want to have your travel advisor at We Do Travel Right ready to book that first thing in the morning when the phones open or when the website opens on the travel agent side. All right, Jamie, you had something else.
I got two thoughts real quick. Number one, these aren't coming out for another year or so. So if you want to be Silver, go get a 3-day on the Dream. Get your status, establish it, get the placeholder, and then boom, your Believe cruise becomes cheaper if it's on a blacked out date or your New York cruise. And then the We Do Travel Right has an incredible team of agents that work together. But here's the additional perk is we have our dining and experiences team that gets up at midnight for you, Eastern Standard Time. You all have the 9 p.m. time, which is really nice. But we're booking Royal Gathering. We're booking your dining reservations, for Paolo and Remy and Enchante and everything. We are. I have 100% track rate for cabanas. I probably just jinxed myself, but I crushed the cabanas. And then there's so many things that we do for you where there's no cost to you, and we are here to be your travel bestie along the way. We're helping you. We're here to answer your questions. We are an amazing team, and our whole team of agents are phenomenal, and they know DCL. So I'm so excited to be able to tell you all more about the team. They're amazing.
We could not be more excited for this partnership that we have with We Do Travel Right. So definitely show them some love. Jamie, let me first thank you for taking your time last minute. As Sam mentioned, these are scramble days for us to try and figure out what's going on so we can get the news to you as fast as possible so you can start looking through these and figuring out what you want to do. But thank you, Jamie, for spending the time tonight with us.
This was a blast.
Just a quick PSA, one more PSA out to our listeners and those watching. Like, if you like this show, if you like what we're doing here, like, you are our greatest marketing tool. So please share this, tell people about it so more people can find us and we can continue to grow our audience and build this fabulous community that we have. So, yeah.
And if you're not following us on Instagram or subscribing to us on YouTube, you're not doing us any favors. So please subscribe to us.
That's so rude.
All right, okay, fair. I don't mean it that harshly, but please, we
We have to keep the podcast going.
If you want more of this, if you want more of this level of judgment, listen to the show because it's every episode in Rapid Fire is like this.
That's right.
I have to, that's what people come here for, my judgment. But yeah, if I want to get that sponsorship by my favorite fizzy beverage company, I got to reach 10,000 followers on Instagram. And right now we just reached today 6,500. So I'm very excited about that, but we're still 3,500 away. So you guys
start spreading the news.
That's right. Start spreading the news. Exactly.
All right. Thanks, everybody out there.
We'll be back next week, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, but on Tuesday, which is our new regular day.
All right.
Sorry. Is it actually, am I right on that? Is it 5:30 or 5 p.m.? Oh my God. Now I can't remember what we said.
No, I think
it's either 5 or 5:30.
I think we kept it at 5:30, but regardless, we will have posts that tell you when the live show is going to happen. So, Jamie, once again, thank you for being here today. Thank you, everyone out there, for listening and watching and hanging out with us. We will be back, and for now, we'll just say see ya real soon. All right, that's our show for tonight, but thank you so much for listening. If you're not subscribed yet, please fix that right now. Head over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit that subscribe button. We're dropping at least 2 episodes a week. Plus, we're live each and every week over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DCLDuo. Come hang out with us for a live. It's a blast. You can ask your questions in the chat and really join the conversation with us and our guests. If you're enjoying our show, one of the easiest ways to support the show, head over to Apple Podcasts, hit those 5 stars, and while you're at it, leave us a written review with your 5-star review, and we will read it on the air at the top of one of our main episodes. If you're listening to us on another platform, Spotify, YouTube, Castos, there's so many third-party podcast apps and players out there. Whatever form of review or rating they have, give it all to us. Show the show some love. It keeps us going, keeps us putting out great content week to week. Are you ready to set sail? Book your next Disney Cruise Line vacation with our show sponsor, We Do Travel Right, the crew that handles the planning so you can focus on relaxing. Head to wedotravelright.com/DCLDuo today to get started, or you can reach out to them directly. Just let them know the DCL Duo sent you. Subscribe today to DCL Magazine. They put out a great product. Head over there. It's your go-to guide for DCL tips and tricks. Just browse to DCL-magazine.com. That's DCL-magazine.com and use code DCL Duo, all caps DCL Duo today for 10% off everything in the WDW magazine store. And if you want to directly support the show, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/DCL Duo. That's patreon.com/DCL Duo. Every pledge helps us keep bringing you great DCL content every week. Want more from us? Just head over to DCLDuo.com where you will find links to our full episode catalog, our vlog, our Etsy store, our Patreon, our Substack newsletter, and our show sponsors all in one place. Or you can email us at info@dclduo.com or leave us a voicemail at 402-413-5590. That's 402-413-5590. The views expressed in this podcast are our own and do not reflect the views of the Walt Disney Company, Disney Cruise Line, or any other travel provider discussed or mentioned. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time for another fabulous adventure with the DCL Duo. Good night.